very good evening and a warm welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us. We are coming to you from the Serena Hotel, the Bambara Lounge. And tonight we'll be talking about medicines. We all use medicine at one point or the other, and sometimes it just seems as though they do not work. Now, the World Health Organization estimates that around 116,000 deaths in the sub-Saharan Africa occurred due to consuming substandard drugs. Since March this year, the National Drug Authority, together with its partners like police, have been on a campaign to confiscate fake and counterfeit drugs. In the studio with me tonight, I'll start right next to me. We have Dr. Brian Sekayombia, who is from the National Drug Authority. Thank you for joining us. Yeah. And right next to him, we have Regina Kamoga, who is the Executive Director of Community Health and Information Network, but she's here really as a patient representative to speak for the rest of us.
I'm glad to be here.
But I assume that doctors also consume medicine, right?
Yeah, we
so
do.
Regina, you're speaking for all of us. All right, and finally at the end we have Dr. Christopher Opio, who is a senior lecturer, but also a specialist at Mulago Hospital. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
All right, let's say it as it is. So once again, just to set the pace for our conversation, we've had a lot of this happening online in the area of digital media now. People are online complaining and saying this medicine doesn't work, this is wrong, this is, there's all of that going around. So I'm going to ask you each as users of medicine, not as practicing medical workers. Have you used medicine before and you felt it's not working?
Didn't give results.
They gave you results?
I'm saying, have you used it before and doesn't give results?
Yes.
I think for all the times I've used the medicines, I've gotten results.
You've gotten results?
Yes.
Okay, well, you're a doctor. Your opinion doesn't really count. I don't know, I'm asking you. Regina?
Of course, there are times that I've used medicines and they've worked, and other times they haven't worked.
When they haven't worked, what has happened? Do you know?
Yeah, sometimes it's the quality of the medicines. Other times it's the user, myself, where I haven't used it appropriately as prescribed by the doctor. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Dr. Opio, have you had people come to you and say the medicine you prescribed, it's not working for me?
Yes.
Are there special circumstances you can tell us about?
Well, there are very many circumstances. For example, you may take a medicine and you may have a reaction to it that you don't like, that is causing an issue, okay? Or for various reasons, the individual may not like the schedule you have given them because it's a problem, okay? And rarely you may have side effects that may occur because of the drugs. So those are a few instances.
Okay. When you speak about the medicines that have schedules you don't like, and I'm assuming that's medicine you tell us take every this number of hours, and that's going to mean I have to wake up at 4 a.m. to take the medicine, right? So no wonder they don't finish them. Okay, so the other question for me is, do we have fake drugs on the market? Because that keeps coming up every so often. Regina?
Yeah, I really believe we have fake drugs on the market. And I think primarily because we have the weak laws in our country. We have porous borders. We have inadequacies, dysfunctions in our system, and all these impact. But as well, at the patient level, we have low health literacy about the lack of knowledge. So they can purchase medications without really knowing where they're from, not from the right sources. So that vulnerability and other issues of access and availability and affordability lead them to access those fake medications on the market.
What is the mandate of NDA at this point?
I'll start from that. NDA as an entity is one that was formed to ensure that the public receives safe, efficacious, and effective medicines. That's why it was formed, and that's its mandate, and it has done this for the last 25 years.
So what happens when we then have the fake medicines?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to use the word fake. I'll use two terms that are used globally, we have falsified and substandard medicines. True, yes, true, we have these on the market. They're all over the place. But how they get into our market is through, like what Regina said, through the porous borders. The substandard medicines, sometimes, I would love to let the public also know that sometimes these medicines arrive into the country when they're actually okay. But there are certain things that happen along the way. One, when the medicine is moved from one place to another in a way that's not right, I will not explain the chemistry behind that, but if it's moved, let's say, in extremities of temperatures, extremities of aggression, we are going to find this medicine losing its quality. The tablets will break, the syrups will cake. Caking is when a syrup, when you shake it, it's no longer a liquid. And then for those that are affected by heat, actually will lose their quality. Unfortunately, sometimes the users, we are not very careful. I'm saying users because I'm also a user of medicines. We are not very careful. Even our health workers who present us these medicines, sometimes they miss some of this. And later on, I'll talk about what do you look out for in a product when you go to a shelf to pick it when you're being prescribed. But then too, also the prescribers, we the health workers, we make these medicines not good. If you come to me and I've not confirmed what is the problem and I prescribe for you something, definitely it's not going to work because I'm not sure exactly what I'm treating. Sometimes I'll be sure, but there are certain ailments that look like, and I was, oh yeah, that's this. And when I prescribe something, the doctor gave me things and it didn't work. Sometimes we take the wrong medicines for the wrong ailments.
Dr. Opio, you're a senior lecturer and I'm assuming this is in medicine as well, but you're also a doctor. Because I've had this happen to me and I've known people who the same thing has happened to them. The doctor just assumes it is something and gives you something. Why does that happen?
Why does it happen? It's difficult to guess why it happens, okay? But what we need to understand that to make a diagnosis, you go through a process, okay? You take history, physical exams, and also you recommend tests, okay? And that is a process. So anywhere in between that, things can go wrong. You can have a problem with investigations that can lead to a wrong diagnosis. You can have a problem with physical exam. You can miss a certain sign or symptom. You can have a problem with history, okay? Because about 70% of diagnosis is made from history. It's like an investigation. You're probing to see. So if the history doesn't mark up, then you can always be skewed. How many diagnoses do we have in this world? The list is long. Human beings are never the same, okay? And even the certain diagnosis, international diagnosis, the criteria for making a diagnosis is difficult in certain certain conditions. I'll give you an example of, let's say, mixed connective tissue disease, or let me break it down. Say if you have even malaria per se, have we had problems where there has been a misdiagnosis? We've had cases where somebody has said, you have malaria and you have something else because it's based on fever. So those are the issues the health practitioner needs to deal with. And of course it goes down to level of training, work environment, okay, support systems, and even the time you take with your patient. And then there's the issue of workload. You can't expect me to see 20 patients and expect that I'll give the same quality of care for the first versus the last. Obviously, everything is going to degenerate. That is why we say healthcare practitioners should be given particular limits. It's like pilots. Do you expect your pilot to fly a plane after a certain number of hours? No. Then things depreciate.
I was going to ask, related to what you've just said, Dr. Opio, how far can a patient push if I go to the hospital and the doctor tells me, no, but what you have is this, and I say, but it is not. But before you thinking that I have a lot of, for insisting and telling you I don't think it is, and then at the end of it all realize actually, it was.
You have a right to a second opinion. It's there in the patient rights. So you have a right to say, okay, can I have another opinion? Okay.
Another doctor?
Yes, but how many doctors are there?
That's the question.
So can you increase the number of doctors?
So Dr. Pio, the same thing on patient history as related to medicines. Because sometimes patients, we are not aware on how much we must divulge, it's very tricky actually that sometimes the medication we use that you prescribe sometimes is affected by either the medicine I'm taking prior to coming to you or the medicine I'll take concomitantly with what you've given me. Some of these medicines do not accept to work hand in hand. I'll give a simple example. There is a common medicine almost everyone takes called metronidazole, commonly known as Flagyl. Should you take that medicine and take a glass of alcohol? It's a problem. And other medicines. So because we do not divulge information as much, the prescriber will give you a medicine. The medicine, when you put it with another medicine you're taking back at home, sometimes you're going to get either the other medicine is going to kill the effect of this one, or this one's going to kill the effect of the other one. Then you say the medicines we have on the market are actually not fine.
When you sometimes go to the hospital, you see the doctor, then they send you to the pharmacist who tells you sit there, then calls you and says, here's your medicine. And that's it. So you don't really know much. And then you have a lot of people who refuse to take medicine with water. So they'll take with soda, or they'll take with, or they'll put it in matoke or in a banana or something. Does that in any way affect the working of that medicine?
Yes, it does. Because in the real world, or the ideal situation is that when a prescription is made, and it's the right prescription in the right amounts for the right patient with the right diagnosis and so forth, there are things you should do after, okay? And that is, you need to provide some information to the individual who is receiving that medication. So many a time, yes, because of various reasons, I don't think I need to go into, the patient misses out on that information. India's gone ahead even to provide information leaflets. All drugs are supposed to come with information leaflets, but how many of us are able to read those leaflets? And sometimes when the drugs are dispensed, those leaflets are missing, okay? So the patient is not kind of informed about the medication.
But the assumption is that we can all read. They're always in English or foreign languages.
That's why I said, I just mentioned that many of us cannot read.
I'll confirm that for all medicines that are on the Ugandan market, India has insisted and ensures that the leaflets are in a language readable in Uganda.
Really?
Yes.
All medicines manufactured in Uganda, or
all medicines that are registered to be on the Ugandan market have a leaflet that has a language readable in Uganda, preferably English, because that's what many of the Western countries will have.
Preferably English, but how much of the population of Uganda can speak English? And let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. We're coming to you from the Serena Hotel in Kampala. And tonight we're talking about medicines, and this particular show is brought to you and sponsored by the National Drug Authority. Once again, thank you for joining us. Regina, you wanted to say something, and I just didn't allow you to speak. What did you want to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that because proper diagnosis is very important, and we also know that 50% of diagnosis in Uganda, people misdiagnosed, which is really a big number. But then the most important thing here to look at is, just as Dr. said, is about the workload, because how do you harmonize the workload with the time you want to spend with the patient for you to get the proper history of the patient, listen to them, listen to their concerns, and be able to make a proper diagnosis, because all that impacts the treatment and the way the patient will use the treatment appropriately.
That seems like something we are a long way away from solving, looking at the number of health workers that we have. Let's talk about shared medicines. I know that in some homes you find maybe the reason, and I'm not a medical person, but I know that people will share medicine. If I have a bacterial infection and I'm still in the process of taking my medicine and somebody else in the house gets it, some people will just give me some of your medicine.
Yeah, I would like to request the public to desist from that. It's one of the biggest problems we have now. One of the biggest problems we have now on the globe is antimicrobial resistance, which has come, one of the ways it has come through is that. Because if I'm giving you a dose of, let's say, 30 capsules of a particular product, and I'm telling you this is what you're going to consume within this duration. Now, when you share it with someone else, one, you're not sure that person has the exact same problem the other person has. Two, you're not going to finish the 30, and then that means when it gets into the body, it will be less than what is needed to clear out what I wanted to clear. So when it's less than now, what remains there let's say it's an antibacterial. What remains in the body will try to create defense mechanisms towards that product. And that's how resistance comes. Because I didn't create enough, so when it discovered an environment of that product, so it creates mechanisms to fight that environment. Now, the other person whom you've given, so one, you're not sure it's the same ailment he has, so he's going to take that medicine, either it won't be of any use, so that will be wastage. Two, if he has the same ailment, but still is not getting enough, he's also going to create the same environment. Now, that environment will be the one that we move from person 1, person 2, person 3. Before you know it, that product can no longer work. So I request the public to desist from sharing medication.
I've always wondered about when they're giving you bacterial infections. If anything, the only time the pharmacy really insists on medicine is when they're giving you that medicine. They say, make sure you finish, because if you don't finish it, when it comes back, you'll come back with all of its aunties and uncles.
I think I've given you quite a simple explanation.
That explains it. Yes, Dr. Opio.
Yeah. The question should be, why do people share medicines? It's an issue of access, and it's an issue of self-diagnosis, all right? So I serve to guesstimate there, but really it is self-diagnosis and access. Most people do not have access to drugs, and moreover, rational drug use. Okay, so that is my thinking.
When you talk about self-medication, it makes me think of most mothers who you will find have a mini pharmacy in their houses, mostly because, I mean, they've seen the illnesses their children have gotten over time. So they have something for the flu, something for cough, and they just recycle the same medicine. Do you want to speak to that, maybe Regina? Have you seen this happen?
Yeah, of course, it's a very common practice.
Are you a culprit, for example?
I could be, but the beauty is I'm an expert patient, so I'm empowered enough to know that some medications are not supposed to be taken when, like, if you open it, and if it's the cough syrup, you're not supposed to take it after 2 weeks. So I know that, but also I just want to talk about the vulnerability. First of all, our patients mainly are vulnerable. You're vulnerable because you're sick, but also in our context, the vulnerability comes from the fact that our patients suffer from the double burden of communicable and non-communicable diseases. They are poor, with poor access in terms of affordability. Then the low health literacy, the low literacy levels. So all this impacts on their use. But again, on the other hand, then we have the paternalism with our doctors. They are small gods, and our patients are not really empowered enough. And sometimes patients are looked at as passive receivers of care with just a body, but not a mind, who cannot make informed decisions. So all these impacts in the way the patients are seen and the actual use of those medications.
Okay. Regina, at least on that, I'll be glad. I'll be glad you're here. You're an expert patient. I would request you that through your organization, you should advocate for patients engaging with their health workers. Dr. Pio talked about access. That's a question that we can discuss on another platform. I mean, not another time when we have some good time, and we break down access and how we can optimize what we have currently to have rational use of medicines. But for Regina, I would request that we can work together and get out the people and encourage people to work with their prescribers, to collaborate, not to be passive receivers of treatment. Because one of the problems we are seeing here and why we are having all these troubles, because we've grown up in an era where it's passive.
Yeah.
The doctor is a god. But actually, I'm a health worker. I know that engaging with my patients is okay. It's allowed, no matter the numbers. Dr. Pia, I know very well in Molago, when you sit there, despite the numbers, when you want to get something from a patient, you'll get it to the detail that you want it. Despite the time that you might have, the time will be there. So the health workers are willing. The people, we are not allowing them to.
The people have been socialized to be meek and, like she said, treat the doctors like gods. So when the doctor shuts you down, when you start to explain your symptoms, he says, "Did you get that off a search engine?" And then you say, "Yeah, because it felt like I've told you not to check this." It just feels like the aura as well that you get from a medical person just sets you off.
I will disagree with you. Rarely do health workers get to that point.
You think?
Really?
As the patients have spoken.
Because I'm also a patient and I go and receive the services, but many times.
But we've seen it.
they'll come
We've
through
actually seen it. Let's not run away from it. That a lot of times health workers are not. Maybe like he said, the time they've seen 20 patients, you really expect them to give you the customer care that you want. It's not something that they're willing to do at that time. Dr. Pio, we've seen that some patients prefer the expensive medicine. So I don't know if they've ever asked you where it's from, and I would prefer this country, medicine from this country. Do you see that happen, and why does it happen?
Well, patients have a right to choose, okay, and they do sometimes raise that. But the fact of the issue, the assumption is if a drug is approved and it's on the approval list, okay, your assumption is that it is taken care of by the responsible regulatory organization. So you go ahead and use it. And of course, human beings, it is not one size fits all. So you may play around with your medications because others may have a better response, or you feel they have a better response. But in truth, the fact that if it is approved, it should be efficacious. But of course, truth is not always truth, because you may have about, say, 5 or 10% or less than that, depending on where you are, of the drugs having particular issues.
But is it true that the more expensive, the more effective the drug is?
Not necessarily. I'll give you an example. Let's say, let's take hepatitis B. You have the injectable and you have the tablet, okay? The injectable, you say you take it for 1 year, it will cost you, now it costs about $1 million a month, so that is about 12 million. You get suboptimal response. While this one you take it for life, it costs you, depending on where you get it from, it will cost you between 30 to 50,000 a month. So which is affordable? The other one is more expensive. This one is produced in country. Make your choice.
There's just something attractive about the medicines that are from overseas, and I'll say that. I don't know if that's true.
All medicine, most of them overseas.
It's not true. I'll tell you.
Why are you saying it's not true? I'm a user.
I'll confirm to you that most of the medicines that are allowed onto the Ugandan market meet a bare minimum of quality. Because all these medicines, before they are put first on the register, I'll put for you just a simple, I hope I have time to do this. Before they are put on the register, there are certain quality checks they go through. Then when they are put on the register, before they get into the country, that is if they get through the right means, they're actually checked. Right? So as they get in, they've gone through all those quality checks. Even as they're on the market, we have a team that actually goes on to pick what's on the market and test to ensure that it's still the quality that was obtained at registration. Now, we have the porous borders, we have the illicit traders who sneak in some of those other products. Sometimes they even mimic these products we have on the market. Recently, we've just had a case of one product where the packet was the same, and it was on the market. And when we went and checked on the phone, this had nothing. So it's the illicit traders that are putting up this on the market, but most of the medicines that are authorized in here really should give you this desired effect when you use it.
All right, let's take another short break. I think we'll start with how to identify what's fake when we return. Thank you for staying with us. Welcome back. And like I mentioned earlier, this particular show on medicines is done in collaboration with the National Drug Authority. And I said when we come back, we're going to start with how to identify what's fake.
Okay. One, it may not be so easy for a lay person to identify what's fake, because you can only confirm fake when you've tested. However, there are certain markers that should at least cause something to ask questions. One, if you're looking at a product, if you go to a pharmacy and they are presenting to you a product, and of all the languages written on that product, let's say it's a box, you cannot read anything. That means this product, the languages that are there, you can't read them. Preferably most of the products we have English. So at least if none of the things there you can do, I mean there's no any English part, English content, please ask questions on that product. If you went into a pharmacy and you picked a syrup for the mothers, and you find that the seal of the bottle is not intact, please ask questions. If you went and found that the product has no the labeling, sometimes the labeling is a bit, I mean you find mistakes on the label, spelling mistakes. That one is not authorized in manufacturing of medicines. So that's why they should give you a flag. This product has a problem. I mean, if someone can make a mistake on the word manufacture and they write some other word, then that means what the part has issues. If you have, I don't know what they call
Seals.
The seals are broken. I mean, please check, especially the labeling, the packaging. If you find that the package is supposed to have a seal and the seal is broken, please ask questions.
Are there particular places where these medicines that are fake will be sold more commonly than in other places? My assumption is that in pharmacies, in actual hospitals, maybe they buy from somebody that is well known and, you know.
Markets.
The markets.
You have markets. So, for example, if you go into the community, there are these small markets or big markets, wherever you go, transitional markets. So those ones kind of escape regulation. So you'll have that.
And hawkers.
And hawkers.
In buses as well.
All these cars that just come announcing.
Yes.
Okay.
In buses.
Actually, for one of the things that NDA does, and this I can confidently say, before they issue a license to a premise, that's a pharmacy, a drug shop, there are certain indicators, certain requirements that you should have a qualified person to run this place. And by this place having a license, that means NDA at any one time is going to come and audit the kind of products you have in there. So chances are very high people are not going to stock things they're not sure of where they're coming from. But that doesn't mean that these things do not get there. They actually do, because these illicit traders know how to fix themselves into the normal supply chain. And these things get into the shelves. But like I said, as long as you see something, there's something we have, they call the blister pack. The blister pack is where you have the tablets sealed. If you went on the back side and you find one of them is open, or you find in one of them there's something missing, please ask questions. Ask questions, and the last one I should say is do not fear to ask questions.
Make that sound so simple.
I know,
But, you know, when
so
he
simple.
says ask questions, and again I say makes it sound simple, do you want to speak about patients, the uncomfortability, if that there is such a word, of them being able to tell a doctor everything they must tell them to enable that the medicine they get is actually what they should?
Yeah, again, it goes back to the patient doctor relationship, but also the communication on the part of the doctor, making that environment conducive for a patient. But also for the patients to know that they have rights, that they have right to access to safe and quality medications, safe care, as well as access to privacy, respect, to second opinion, and also to ask questions, and also access to information, which is also very, very critical. But again, this is a two-way, like it's a system, and each one of us has to play their role, because if one part is not working,
the other one won't.
yeah.
Dr. Apio, do you want to speak about this two-way? Do you have patients who come and they're afraid to talk about?
As Regina said, it's a process. The expectation is that you're going to give an answer like this, but you have to greet the patient. You have to know who they are. By the time you come to me, you're already probably frightened, your blood pressure is up, something, because you know you've already made a diagnosis. So it takes time. But in the real world, what happens? There are time limitations, okay? So you have to build it. So this is it's a relationship that you build. And communication is just not like this. You have to go through the process. So different people have different methods. For example, if you went to visited maybe healthcare providers in UK, they'll give you, say, a family practitioners. How many minutes do they give you to clear? Do you know? It's a few minutes, okay? And the system requires that the doctor must see the patient within that period of time, because they have to clear the line. So that in itself is a disadvantage too.
You were speaking earlier during the break about patients, for example, if a patient has HIV and they're not comfortable divulging that information.
Who wouldn't? You're seeing maybe the doctor for the first time. You have to have some rapport with the individual, okay?
Not sharing that information, then automatically...
Yeah. So are you going to share that information automatically? Just think about if you have a main problem that you think is stigmatizing, you may not share it. If you're open about it, yes, you share about it.
But how does that, I think what I'm trying to get to is how does that then affect the way the medicine will work, if at all you get medicine, since they might give you medicine?
So, for example, if the drug you're taking is contraindicated. Contraindicated means that if you mix two drugs together, you can have a bad effect. I may prescribe one because you've come with signs, probably symptoms that require this other drug. So if I do not take that into consideration, you're going to have an adverse effect. Adverse means a bad side effect. It may affect your kidneys, it may affect your liver, or you may have higher levels of the whatever ART in your bloodstream, or lower levels of the ART in your bloodstream. That is why we have the leaflet, so that we need to check those drug interactions.
Okay. Are we able to measure or even to take stock of how many patients are suffering as a result of bad or poor diagnosis or misuse of drugs or fake drugs?
We may not be able to ascertain exactly how many people are struggling with use of drugs that are not right, but I urge the public out there, as NDA, we have created a system. I know the numbers will run later on, but I will create a system where if you get an effect or you do not get an effect, because there are two ways. You could either get an effect or you do not get an effect from a product. Please report on those numbers. Give us information. We shall ask a few questions here and there, and we are investigating many of these occurrences. I'll tell you we've worked with the public so much that they're helping us identify even some of these illicit traders in the market. They actually inform us that actually this product, one patient comes and says, I took product X, I didn't get result. Another patient comes. So when the second patient comes, we sit back and say, hey guys, let's run. So that's one of the methods. We get these complaints, get to the market, and monitor. And that's how we've been able to identify many of these products and say, hey guys, and some of them have been published on our website to show them that, hey guys, this product, please watch out for this. Something I left out, we tend so often to go to a pharmacy and pick medicines, and they hide away things like the batch number, the manufacturing date, and expiry date. I urge the patients to always ask to see that.
Okay. I will also ask you, back to the question I asked about people with pharmacies, mini pharmacies at home. Because I don't know if it's something that we're going to stop immediately, but it's going to continue. Are there, besides looking at the expiry date, is there a specific period of time that you say, if this medicine was opened, you should not have it?
Yeah, all medicines have that. Especially, like you said, mothers who keep mini pharmacies, just are very high, the products they have are syrups. Syrups, once opened, can only stay for a limited period of time, depending on the condition under which you keep it. Because if you keep it in a cool place, it will take you up to 2 weeks maximum. But after that, you can't use it. And many times when the kid gets well, just a very high is not going to get again sick in 1 week. So preferably after use of medicine, please dispose, preferably.
So just key information before I allow you to close. What we know is there's been exporting of both fake and counterfeit drugs through smuggling. The medicine budget in financial year 2019-2020 has been increased by 24%, and that's from 300 billion to 390 billion. Most types of drugs that are fake include emergency contraceptive pills, anti-malarial drugs, and antibiotics. And I'm waiting for your yes on all of these so that I'm sure I'm not giving the public wrong fake information. Uganda manufactures medicine or drugs like anti-malarials, antibiotics, ARVs, infusions, and antidiabetics.
That's very true.
Okay, and Uganda has about 10 drug manufacturing companies.
That's very true.
In March, India commenced the construction of a new quality control laboratory tower that is bound to cost 32 billion shillings. You said that was complete?
No, it's still going on. It's under construction. That is to enable us to test many more medicines to ensure that the public receives quality medicines. Something that you talked about, the key factor on...
Exporting fake drugs?
No,
What's that
the
called?
next one?
The medicine budget?
No, the next one?
The fake drugs on the market?
Yes, there are fake drugs on the market. Which we urge the public to always get these medicines from authorized sellers. When you get into a pharmacy, please look up. We urge all these pharmacies to have their licenses displayed. Please look at that pharmacy, that license. Is it valid? When it's valid, it gives you confidence to know that we've actually come there, we've audited it, and we know that at least whatever is in there, we can have a sense of trust.
Is there a place that the public can report if, for example, they get something that was fake, or who do they report to?
Yes, please come to NDA. We have regional offices around the country. We have one in Lira, we have one in Jinja, we have one in Tororo, we have one in Mbarara, we have one in Hoima, and we have one on Lumumba Avenue in Kampala. There's a number that's going to be running. That number is a toll-free number. Please get to it. Get to us. Inform us. There will be someone at the end of the line to help you through this whole process.
Okay. I'd just like us to close, and I'll start with you, Dr. Pio. No, I'm not going to ask you a question. What would you like us to take home with from this conversation?
Each of us has responsibilities, and we need to know those responsibilities. As healthcare providers, as the regulatory organization, and as patients. So that is what we should re-emphasize. We need to go back, if we have forgotten those, and see how we can improve on that. But again, our health system is a little bit, we have both private and government, so there has to be an improvement at all levels. The way I would look at it is, what can we do better? So it's a matter of introspection and thinking of ways we could improve to the benefit of the patients.
What can we improve as medical workers, for example?
There's a lot. We have already mentioned work environment, okay? Because we have talked about what does it take to make a correct diagnosis. We need all the tools that are necessary. Okay? We need the time. We need the place. You talked about privacy. And we need the people. If I'm doing 5 things meant for one person, obviously efficiency is going to drop. And that's where medical errors arise. Okay? So we have to think about that. And even empowerment of patients. Yes, we have a part to play, but it takes time. And you need to have the necessary resources. So we have to think about that. Within our limited resources, what should we do? But again, we need to have a collaborative effort and communication. It's all about information, education, and communication. That is why we are all here.
Okay. Regina?
Yeah, for me, just once again, this is a very important topic because we cannot overemphasize the issue of medication safety, and indeed the World Health Organization, it's one of the 3rd global patient safety challenges, the medication without harm, and steps are being taken to ensure that patients are not harmed, because most of these practices, the unsafe medication practices and medication errors are all very, very avoidable. But what does this mean? It means that we all need to work together. We need to move away from the blame game, because patient safety, medication safety advocates for a no blame culture, a just culture, whereby we report these cases, we are transparent, we work together, the patients are empowered to be able to engage, to be able to be, not passive receivers, but, active recipients of care. But also on the other hand, we want our health workers, we need the human resources for health to be increased. We need our health workers to be motivated, to be provided with an environment where they can effectively engage with us. The dysfunctions in the healthcare systems, they all need to be worked upon so that we all work together, because in my language we say agali awamu ge galumenyama asiko bulamu tassa mukono. So it's a continuous process. It's a systems thinking kind of approach.
So one last thing I would say, I'll start with the patients. Be responsive. See something you're not sure, you see an adverse effect, please report 28. There's a toll-free line. Please report, be responsive. The prescribers, the health workers, let's do what's right. Let's give the people information. Let's prescribe the right things. Where we are not sure, let's confirm, let's test. And as a regulator, we shall continue to do our job to ensure that the market is free of falsified and substandard medicines. We are doing it, and we shall continue doing it, and we shall do it when we work together with all these teams to do the rational part. For us, we shall ensure that the market is safe. Thank you so much.
Do you have any statistics for us from since you started in March with this campaign? Any arrests, any people, any drugs taken off the market?
I may not have the figures right, but one thing I should note, at least one thing that we've noted, is the illicit traders, the people who bring these products, the falsified and substandard medicines, look out for where the market is big. And yes, you're right. You rightly said it's in these contraceptives, the emergency contraceptives, because the market was big, so they used that. So we found something there in one of the product. Even the antibiotics that are very used, like now we had a case of one of the antibiotics that we use very often, that's Augmentin. We had, because they know everyone runs there, so they look at the places where there's a bigger market. Why even went to the areas of antibiotics where they discovered that's where the big market is. Okay. So we're also very cognizant of where they go, so we're also targeting there, and we are making sure that whatever comes on the market, we are monitoring.
Just before I let you go, I wanted to find out the side effect of using these drugs that are, you said I shouldn't say fake, these drugs that shouldn't be used. Besides death, because that's the extreme, what else?
One of the side effects may be no effect. You use the product and nothing will happen. 2, might give you an effect that you do not want. Let's say you are healing headache and you're having stomach troubles. So there's a big plethora of effects, but as long as you get an effect that you do not intend to have, please report. It will help us to investigate, and we shall always give you feedback on the investigation.
Right. Regina,
Yeah.
Yes, maybe just to follow up on that, the side effects are many, and besides death, hospitalization, and you may have to be admitted sometimes to intensive care to save you because your organs are failing. You may lose your sight. Okay, so those are some of the things that you have to take into consideration. You may get severe anemia, your bone marrow may stop working. Okay, so yes, there may be nothing, but there may be everything.
All right. Regina?
Yeah, one other thing that I wanted to say is, in all this, we want patient involvement in the drug development process and safe use of medicines, whereby patients, because they know, they use these medications and they know better, even before these drugs are made. There needs to be a dialogue, a discussion on how patients can input into that whole process, right from the the process of development of these drugs.
I just keep wondering if these are not patients.
I know. Exactly.
Thank you all so much for joining us on the panel for tonight. We'll be talking about the safe use of drugs and if medicines do work or if it is us that are abusing them. And this show was done in partnership with the National Drug Authority. That brings us to the end of week 4 tonight. Thank you for watching. Coming up is MTV Weekend Edition.